There's this beautiful little Italian restaurant in Brisbane that makes the most amazing gnocchi. Now, the gnocchi is delicious, but it's all about their sausage and cream sauce. It is phenomenal, and here I'm going to try to replicate it. So for the gnocchi, I've cooked about 1.2, 1.5 kilos of Desiree potatoes. I left the skin on, cooked them until they're really tender, and then peeled them while they're still hot. Now we need to rice them. So you get one of these nifty little rices, and this is to ensure that we get really fluffy potato. So we'll just break them, and working little by little, we're just going to rice it directly onto our board because we need to knead our gnocchi. So in with the potatoes and pop that in there. And it's actually kind of therapeutic to see the potato turn into like little worms coming out of there. This is really important to do with hot potatoes. If they're too cold, we may get lumps in our gnocchi, and we don't want that. There's so many different varieties of potatoes you can use for gnocchi. Usually it needs to be a floury potato, but I find in Australia the most common potato, the Desiree potato, is one you can find everywhere, and it works a treat. So Desiree, if you can find it. So one last little bit of potato, and that is enough for lots of gnocchi. Okay, pop that to the side. Now we're just going to spread it out and make a little well in the centre. You've got to be careful with the flours not to add too much. So plain flour, my recipe calls for 1 cup of flour, but I start with about half or a little bit more than half. We'll see the texture and then add some more. So on with half to start with. And then some potato flour. This is a little trick that I learnt in Tuscany many years ago. This beautiful lady taught me how to make her gnocchi, and this was her secret. So potato flour, some Parmesan cheese that's been grated, and we want around 100 grams, not too much because there's going to be quite a lot of Parmesan in our sauce. A pinch of salt to season, and 1 egg in the centre. So we'll just break that in. Now using a fork, we're just going to beat that egg and then bring in the sides slowly, mashing it all up. And then once it starts to dry up, get your hands in there and start kneading it together. Now the trick to good gnocchi is not to over knead it. At the beginning, of course, you need a little bit of elbow grease to combine everything, but you'll see just by doing this, it will slowly come together. And again, just folding that through ever so gently until we've got a beautiful dough. All right, this is looking pretty good. It's not sticking to the bench. So let's make some gnocchi. Now this makes a lot of gnocchi, and what I like to do is make a whole batch. So cook them in the water and then chill them in the fridge. Then place them into the freezer and you have gnocchi on standby, fresh gnocchi whenever you like. It'll last for 3 months in the freezer. For this recipe though, this is plenty. I like to just add a little more flour to my hands, and then we're going to roll this into a sausage shape. And if it's just too thick, we can cut that in half again. And working with small batches, again, just so we're not working the flour too much in our gnocchi. So keep rolling that out. Now I'm just using a pastry cutter, you could just use a knife, and we just cut them just like so. So that's plenty for one portion. Let's get our sauce on. So some extra virgin olive oil into a pan, good glug. And then the sausages, well, because this is an Italian style recipe, I prefer Italian style sausages. Sausages that have a little bit of garlic through it, some chili and some fennel seeds. I've taken the skins off the sausage and we're just going to add them to the oil. And so this is going to sizzle for about 5 to 8 minutes or until the sausage is golden and crispy. Okay, this sausage is looking good, and I've just been using a fork just to break it up so it's just small little pieces, and you can see how caramelized it is. That is the way I like it. Now, before we finish this sauce, let's get our gnocchi into the water. You can see it's just gently boiling. You don't want it to be rapidly boiling because it'll break them up, and then we'll just add them to the water. Just carefully move them around and you'll see they'll go all the way down to the bottom, and as soon as they start to rise and bob up, you'll know that they're cooked. This is the perfect timing. So gnocchi goes in and we'll finish our sauce. So into this we'll add some white wine. Allow that to reduce, so we're cooking off the alcohol, and some thyme, a few sprigs of thyme. I'm just going to take the little leaves off, saves me picking out all the stalks later on, and a pinch of nutmeg. And for the cream, I'm using some cooking cream. It heats without splitting and it thickens really quickly. So the sauce is going to be creamy, so we need lots of cream for this. And give that a swirl. And you'll watch that, it thickens up so fast. So I'll grab a bowl ready to go. And some Parmesan cheese. That's thickened perfectly, so a generous spoonful or two into our sauce. And have a look at the gnocchi. See how it's just popping up? One by one they come up and they've all risen, so they're ready. And just using a slotted spoon, we're going to drain the excess water off and then into our sauce. They are the perfect size. I love this size. Not too big, not too small, just right. What I love most about this dish is how all of that creamy, lush sauce coats each individual gnocchi. So give that a toss. And some freshly cracked pepper. I'm quite generous with the pepper. And let's plate this up. Oh, yum-o. So nice, generous bowl. It is rich. It's one of those dishes I adore making in the winter time because it's very comforting. And you don't need a giant bowl of gnocchi. Serve it the Italian way, just like that. That is plenty. Some extra Parmesan over the top if you're a bit of a cheese fan like I am. And some extra freshly cracked pepper. That is a gorgeous gnocchi. It does remind me of that beautiful restaurant in Brisbane, but now I can make it at home. It might even taste a little better, maybe.